one of the big problems that we see in our industry anyway is that January every year people start those new year workouts and then they injure themselves because they're just doing exercises that their body's not ready for.
Hello and welcome to the BuddyBoss podcast, where we dive deep into the strategies that will help you build, launch and grow your online communities, courses and memberships. I'm your host Jason Broderick, marketing manager and head of content here at BuddyBoss. If it's your first time here or you just haven't gotten around to it yet, do me a favor, click the subscribe button below this video, then click that bell icon to make sure that you keep up to date with all of the latest content here at BuddyBoss. In today's episode, I'm joined by Michael Fatica from Back in Shape. The Back in Shape program helps people around the world fix their back pain from home through rehabilitation exercise routines, live video support, and a supplementary video library. They're helping people get their back and their body back in shape and keep it that way. Michael tells us about how one of their own clients, that is a GP, discovered exercises they were prescribing to help their own patients didn't work for their own pain, and how Back in Shape helped them overcome their own sciatica. How they're using a PR agency to help get national coverage for their members and their results to bolster their customer acquisition strategy through YouTube video ads. And how they're able to achieve results with patients online that they never would have thought possible compared to seeing them in a clinic. Let's dive in. Michael, welcome to the show, mate. It's great to chat to you again. I know you were one of the very first people that I spoke to this time last year when I started kind of getting on the one-to-ones with customers. So tell me a little bit about, for people who don't know, what is Back in Shape? What is the Back in Shape program? Who is it for, and what does it do for them?
Essentially, Back in Shape is a online program to help people with low back pain, with sciatica and those sorts of things, get the actual rehab they need, and not just get the rehab at home that they need, but also get that clinician feedback. So, for example, every single week we do live streams, which we use BuddyBoss for, as well as a few other things, to give those individuals, as they're going through their back recovery journey, if you will, their Back in Shape journey, give them the ability to get touch points to guide you along the way, because it's all well and good getting a plan of action, say the program itself alone, but if you've got the ability to actually get clinical help on a weekly basis and a little bit more than that within our community as well, then it just guides you so much more, because the amount of times from clinical practice you would help a patient, they'd go away, they'd come back next week or the week after, and there are things that they need that guidance. So just having a program on its own is one thing, but having that support is really, I think, where the program itself shines and helping people get their back in shape, hence the name.
So tell me, does Back in Shape focus mostly on sort of rehabilitative stuff, or do you also do like preventative? Let's say, for example, I stand at my desk 16 hours a day. I don't particularly have any lower back issues, but I'm sure by the time I'm 40, I will. Would it be a good fit for me? Or is it more like people who struggle with back pain, or who struggle, let's say can't sleep on their back, or, are constantly in pain, that they would come to you and take your program to fix the pain?
Yeah, I think that there are definitely two groups. There's the group of people that are in a lot of trouble, and I think that's how we get the majority or a large number of our initial members is people are, on Google, they're on YouTube, they're looking for ways to fix their back. They've maybe seen some of our YouTube videos or some of our Facebook or Instagram content, whatever it may be. And then they come in because they haven't had luck before. And that, I think, is maybe something else we talk about later. But one of the really surprising things that we have had people that often they come to us, not at the first port of call, but they've tried X, Y, Z and it hasn't worked. So they're kind of the worst of the worst that join us, not someone who's, freshly injured their back for the very first time yesterday. We take those people right from sort of the very start all the way through the rehabilitation program. And there's a avenue at the back end of that to help them keep their back in shape for the long term, and that's something we've introduced a little bit more recently, which are sort of live workouts for people that are healthy, are fit. But one of the big problems that we see in our industry anyway is that January every year people start those new year workouts and then they injure themselves because they're just doing exercises that their body's not ready for, and that aren't necessary. It's not necessary to do some of those, a lot of the sort of the high impact exercises that really get the burnout, but they're just not back friendly exercises. So we also have that capacity of people that go, I just want to keep fit and healthy. Like you say, I'm not as active as I should be, and I'd like to do something that's kind of a bit more expertly crafted for with back health in mind. Maybe a family history of back injuries or something like that has kind of prompted them to be a bit more conscientious about the back. So there are both of those people. No injuries, but the majority of people that initially find us searching for someone to help them when they really need it.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, so we kind of like in the sort of marketing world would call that like intent-based search. So like, yeah. I have a problem, I need a solution, I'm going on Google, like, how can I solve my lower back pain? Or,
Exactly.
Why does my left leg kill me every time I get out of bed or whatever? And you're like, oh, that's a cause of sciatica or whatever it is. Tell me a little bit about, did Back in Shape ever have, your team, did you ever have a clinic? How did that go? And sort of what were some of the challenges about running a physical clinic that sort of prompted you to maybe think about the more online route?
Yeah, so I think the big story, as I suppose like many of the businesses now, is kind of motivated by the pandemic, in essence, the switch to online. But Lara and I, my wife, we had a successful clinic in central London. Even at the point where the lockdowns were discussed or were first mentioned back in March last year, we'd actually just been told that we were winning or were being awarded the Queen's Award that year. So we were supposed to go to Buckingham Palace. We got the trophy. You can see it just behind me up there. We also got a nice little letter that came through later that year. And we got awarded that just before COVID, sort of the very first lockdowns on March the 23rd. So we had a lot of clinical experience beforehand. We'd built that successful clinic in London using all sorts of bits and pieces. And it was really, really good. And that's our background and our expertise. And then what we've done through the Back in Shape program is be able to essentially take those years of expertise, etc. Because our clinic was focused in back pain. You get a lot of physiotherapy, osteopathy in particular, maybe to a lesser degree chiropractic clinics that are generalists. They see everyone, whereas we literally just honed right in. We had a really good network around us for imaging, etc., and really honed in on the back. So that's what's given the program itself. It's not contrarian, but it's much more focused approach, which is why quite often people come to us doing a lot of traditional exercises that we wouldn't recommend, although they're recommended. And that kind of ties into one of the features that we had in the press just a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, was literally of one of our members who is a GP who had the difficult situation of giving out patients exercises for sciatica, which when she was doing them, they weren't working. She found us, started on our program, started getting results, and because of the nature of the way in which these things work, especially larger organizations like the NHS, wasn't actually able to say to patients, hey, I'm doing this, it's working, you have what I have, and what I know I have to tell you to do didn't work for me, and I can't send you here because it's not kind of what we do. So we're in this, the experience that we had clinically has given us a real edge, but it's a little bit different.
So would you say that did the online program, did it exist before the pandemic, or did it come out of you were both feed into the physical clinician world, and the pandemic happened and you had to pivot? It wasn't like you were always thinking about, we're always going to have this online course or this membership or whatever.
I mean, it wasn't something that we'd planned beforehand. We were full in. We literally, the November before 2020, we just expanded into a new premises. So we were full hog. We'd enlarged our facility. Everything was going great. January kicked off absolutely amazing. So it wasn't something we really did have to just completely pivot relatively quickly and think about what we were going to do. And one of the first things we did that Monday after, I think it was March 23rd, that might have been the Monday or that was the Friday, we started doing live streams. So every single weekday in the morning, we would do a live on our YouTube and Facebook channels, and just basically cover a topic around back pain and do some Q&A for just out there for everybody to use, because no one could get any help whatsoever. And we did 150 episodes of those without missing a day.
Amazing.
So, yeah, we had to pivot.
Yeah, that's amazing. I would never want to wish anyone that I know to go through sort of like an upheaval like that. But it sounds to me like, that sort of inflection point for you both was very helpful, and may have even opened a whole avenue of stuff that you may have never considered beforehand. Let me ask you this: if you were to sort of cast your mind back to like that January before the pandemic hit, if somebody had said to you, hey, do you think you could move your business online and to run the whole business online without ever seeing a patient in the clinic, what would you have said to them?
I think we would have said we're too busy doing the current thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And like, when you think about it, you can only see so many people in a day, and sure, you can hire new members of staff, but from a business point of view, the ability to scale out something without the need to add lots of new members of staff and be constrained by that box, or the geographical location. We were right in the middle of central London, right behind Oxford Circus, on Cavendish Square, and it was, it's not cheap there. So the ability to add a new room, a new person in that room, and all the equipment, and we had a lot of very expensive equipment in there, it's not easy. Whereas when you do it online, there's just that huge amount of scalability once you've got the basic infrastructure and the right sort of platform to do that with. And that task would have seemed too much when we had something that was working and growing, if you know what I mean, to jump ship onto that and start fresh. Although there would have probably been advantages, we would have just said, yeah, but this is working, let's carry on.
And do you think you would have thought it was possible to run like a back pain clinical driven thing on the internet? Like despite the we are too busy ourselves with our own like patients, do you think you would have fathomed that it would have been possible to even do it online?
Not necessarily for the patients that we used to see. We used to see people from up and down the UK, even though we were located, and we even had people coming in from abroad to see us. So from the Middle East, etc., actually flying in to see us specifically for treatment and the treatments that we did. So it was a case of, you have the intimate understanding of the diagnosis that these patients are having that's causing their back pain and their history as well. And unfortunately, very similar to Back in Shape, those patients would also have tried a lot of stuff and it not worked, which was unfortunate. But one of the biggest revelations is actually been for both Lara and I has been actually these people, we know intimately some of their diagnoses, and actually they're doing an online program and they would have come and seen us in the clinic, and it's remarkable the results that people are getting just online and at home. And that's something that we wouldn't have anticipated, not the degree to which people can actually get really, really good results and fundamentally change the way in which they go about the approach to their back in a positive way, not in a, oh my gosh, my back is so vulnerable, but actually, no, I'm really strong. I've rebuilt myself. I'm kind of a new person. And I'm able to do all these things. The article that just came out yesterday in one of the magazines was about one of our members who's now going up climbing some of the mountains in Dumfries. She's able to do all of that, and she had a significant back pain history. So when you're used to seeing those people in clinic with all of the tools that we had available, seeing that actually they're getting really, really good results without that clinical treatment that's probably been the biggest revelation, which I don't think we would have thought possible had you asked us that in January.
Tell me a little bit about that the pandemic hit, you sort of couldn't go into your clinic anymore. Certainly, I mean, you probably could have like gone with the whole we're an essential service type thing, but people weren't really like traveling and stuff. Tell me, what was the sort of, in the initial stages of you moving online or trying to figure out how you're going to move it online, what were some of the challenges that you faced and the things that slowed you down from getting started?
I think we were relatively resourceful. Lara came up with a good few suggestions to actually get the infrastructure set up in place, to get that rolling. So I suppose sometimes there's that temptation to want to make everything perfect before you execute it, before you get it out there. And we had reasonably good experience with marketing. So I wouldn't say we were concerned as much about the ability to market the service, if that makes sense. But there was the tendency, I know for myself and for Lara, that tendency in being a perfectionist. So, okay, we'll do a program and it'll take a while, and and we won't. Nothing will be launched for a while. So I'd say that's probably the biggest obstacle. Just get something together, get it ready and functional so it can actually help people, and then you can build on and bolt onto that. And if you saw Back in Shape, all the way back when it started, and then you saw the service, the facilities, the infrastructure, the breadth of content that it has now, it's I think we've done it correctly, or as best as we could, going along at the same time.
So tell me then about how early on in that process did you discover BuddyBoss, or did BuddyBoss become part of the process? Was that the first platform you used? Give me a little bit of sort of the backstory of like the discovery of BuddyBoss.
Yeah, so originally we were just using sort of online platforms with WordPress. We were using some sales page builders, which happened to have course functionality, or not rather. Well, yes, I suppose in a very, very rudimentary sense, it was course functionality. So we were using those. And then it was just a case of going, hey, look, this is good enough because it's helping people. Some of those very early members are still with us today, which I think is testament to something that maybe we never would have done in clinic. You would never have had that ongoing contact that they voluntarily want to stay with us, for the ongoing support that's aside from the back pain. But just looking and saying, well, what can we do better? What can we do better? What can we do better? And that was kind of a slow evolution of a number of different things that we tried over the years and came to BuddyBoss. I forget exactly when we came to BuddyBoss, but it was a desire to have something that was a more complete and coherent platform across our whole website and all of the courses, rather than having different bits that didn't quite work as well or as seamlessly. And we came to BuddyBoss not too long before the app actually got launched, or you guys launched the app. And that was kind of something that was just very coincidental, because we were thinking, and Lara was saying, we really need to get an app here. Yeah, it's great to be able to do stuff on your phone, but having on the browser, if you will, but actually having an app is something that we wanted to do in the future. And then we kind of got turned on to the app as well, just by coincidence that we were using BuddyBoss. And I was like, hey, look, these guys also have an app that's coming out soon. So that's really convenient if we're moving all of the content across, and that's going to be coming out in the pipeline. So that was, it kind of just was a slow evolution. You're constantly looking for something more than what you currently have to improve the service for your customers, for your subscribers, for your community and your groups. And, that was kind of how we came to BuddyBoss, and it's been like that since.
And you mentioned that you mentioned like that you started off with some like page builders that had like rudimentary course lesson type stuff. That you also then mentioned that you sort of had content in other places. Did you have like were you using some other platforms to like manage video content or like membership type stuff or whatever? Like, you can, like, I know you're being very judicious in not naming any of them, but you totally can name the other other platforms you were using and what your experience was like on some of those other platforms.
Yeah, I mean, so we used ClickFunnels to start with, to execute relatively quickly, and that was great to get things up and running quickly. But it's if you've used it, it's not a long-term platform in my opinion for what we want to build that community. You just can't do that. So something like that has the ability to make a bunch of lessons, and you can execute that quickly. You can get the videos uploaded onto there from YouTube, and you've got the sort of the stuff, but it's not fully, the same as having like your own website with your own platform that's like 100% in your little box that you can use. You're kind of borrowing through this platform for the customer face on one hand, but then you've got your maybe you've got your blog articles that are kind of over here, and you're having to string everything together and kind of hold on to it all in the background. And it just kind of, it's the right tool at the right time. For us, that was what we came across, and it's just the ability to execute relatively quickly, which was most important for us at that time. But once you do start to settle into what's going on, you want to get something that actually has the functionality to meet all the needs, if that makes sense. And it was from there. We've used things like WooCommerce as well, WooCommerce memberships, but then we switched over to those just as we were, I think, moving over to BuddyBoss anyway. So there was the crossover there for a while, and then we got rid of WooCommerce memberships and kind of just realized that actually, I have this problem, overcomplicating what actually could be very simple.
We have this problem.
Yeah, you're trying to overcomplicate things, and actually you realize, wait a second, I'm duplicating about 5 different things here that one platform does. So get rid of that. It speeds up the website, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's pretty much it.
So what is it that you've ended up with now? So you're not using WooCommerce memberships anymore. How are you managing memberships? Tell us a little bit about this.
Yes, so breakdown. Yeah, our breakdown is we've got BuddyBoss, the main platform with the app on the side, and obviously the in-app stuff, in-app purchases, etc. But then we literally just have that. We've got LearnDash, which is obviously integrated from the word go, I think, with BuddyBoss, or has been for ages now. So that's kind of it in terms of the service, and then we just use Stripe to integrate. We do have a Shopify store which kind of is just off the side, but that's very secondary, if you will. The bulk of everyone using our stuff is all through BuddyBoss, and then we just have that as a standalone. Part of the reason for that is it seemed to speed up the website, so you didn't have everything kind of under one banner. We've got BuddyBoss theme with all the stuff with integrating with the app, and that's working fine. And when people want to buy anything, like we've got glute bands, stuff to enhance the workouts. You've got mats. There's one on the floor behind me that people might have to have at home for some of their workouts. That can be on Shopify out the way.
Mm-hmm. So your Shopify is like your physical product purchasing and fulfillment stuff. All the digital stuff lives inside in the BuddyBoss ecosystem. Are you sort of doing like you on your Shopify? If somebody makes an order, are you posting to them, or do you also have the fulfillment done by someone else as well?
We haven't been using the fulfillment, although we did for a short while. We haven't been using any sort of formal fulfillment centers, although we have used some in the past. We've used Fulfilled by Amazon in the past as well, which has been really good. But at the moment, because it's so much geared towards the members more than anything else, we don't have the need to scale out to fulfill those things.
Yeah, it's easy to just sort of keep that all in house, keep all the customer service and all that stuff can just be you. That's cool. So tell me then a little bit more about. So did you launch on your BuddyBoss platform alongside the app at the same time, or did you kind of exist inside the BuddyBoss ecosystem on the platform on web for a while before you also launched the app?
I think there was maybe we joined maybe a month or so before the app. Our app opened, because at the time anyway, you guys were kind of
staggering the release.
Staggering the release essentially. And so we signed up, I think, for it, but we'd just been moving everything over now into BuddyBoss and LearnDash and all that kind of compartmentalization. And then we built the app ourselves in that regard. So, testament to all of the instructions and tutorial videos, which are all, it all worked fine. We managed to get it all up and running with next to no hiccups. It took some work, but the tutorials were all there. So it was, I think we were one of the earlier ones, I think, to actually start using the app, and the tutorials were, I know you guys have so many more tutorials than you used to. So I can only imagine it's easier than it was.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Do you mind if I ask you a little bit more about your sort of like gaining customers? I like the customer acquisition stuff.
Sure.
A lot of our guests probably are in a situation where they either would like to be doing some of that stuff, or they could probably do with a little bit of paid sort of, strategic customer acquisition, especially if they're running a community or a membership as opposed to selling a product, and they might be a little bit nervous or a little bit unsure about where to get started. Could you tell us a little bit about, broadly speaking, like how you're using, I guess, like paid ads, just broadly to sort of get new customers, get new community members or members to your program, and then maybe also share a little bit of your experience about if you were somebody who was just getting started with that now, what would you suggest as like a couple of resources or a couple of things they could do to sort of dip their toes in the water?
Yeah, I think the first thing, I suppose, much like the stuff with BuddyBoss, Google Ads, Google Analytics, Facebook all have tons of tutorial information on how to use their platform. So, and that's all freely available, so you can get all of that. I think it's very industry dependent. So by saying that, Facebook just really, we couldn't get on with Facebook. We couldn't get on with it when we had a clinic, and we couldn't get on with it now, really, in terms of getting any sort of positive traction, because for our specific industry, like you mentioned earlier on, it's like, what do I do about my really bad back? How can I relieve my sciatica in the morning? Are the searches that people come across us, they're not scrolling through Facebook going, oh, do you know, I really want to fix my back pain today. And the way in which Facebook and Instagram tend to work is that you're not able to hone in. So for us, very much it's been Google platforms, so Google and YouTube advertising, because we're able to really hone in on the topics that we want to talk about. Sure, because of our particular niche, it is difficult because you do skirt sometimes close to the boundaries of being more sort of medical, even though now it's certainly not. But that has always been a problem in the past. So I would say very much if you've got an industry that's anything like ours, I would really look at that, at Google and YouTube as being the primary source, because you can be so specific if you've got a small budget. If you haven't got much money, and even with, back when we started the clinic, we started with, I think it was about 30 or 40, maybe £50 a day in advertising spend, and you're very quickly able to garner a positive return on investment. And if you're doing a good video, for example, which most of our ads were and are still to this day, then you can generally get the opportunity to generate a bit of a relationship or rapport with the person, rather than them just having to scroll through a really, really long landing or sales page and try and get the material there. You actually have the ability to either get across to the person or not, whether you know what you're talking about and whether this is for them. So most people might be like, I don't like what you're saying. And sure, like with anything on the internet, you get people that disagree with your videos, and they will tell you very upfront that they disagree with your videos. But quite equally in the same comments, you have people saying exactly the opposite. So it's a way for you to connect with your audience. So if you do have a community and there's something more than just here's my exercise band, go and buy it. The ones on the board behind me, go and buy it. If it's more than that and it's a community and there are all those additional benefits, I think video is definitely a very good way to do it. But obviously you have to be comfortable to talk in front of those videos and try and get your message across coherently, which hopefully I'm doing reasonably well.
Yeah, definitely. So to ask one further question, I know that we've sort of we've kind of sidetracked quite a bit, but I love talking about this kind of stuff. So would you say, do you have, because I know you have the Back in Shape program, is that a fixed term sort of membership course type? You take it once and then there's a membership afterwards, or is it more of an ongoing subscription type monthly service?
So we had thought when we were creating our service how to best price it and phase it. Should we have, because we have 4 phases. We have an additional phase 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a flexibility program which comes between phase 3 and phase 4. Although there is flexibility about when you specifically do that, but you definitely don't do it at the start. That's where a lot of people fall foul. So that's kind of the main, and then we've got additional. They're courses inside BuddyBoss and inside LearnDash, but they're kind of utilities or libraries of content. And we did initially think, should we put each phase as a price? But people go through the phases at different paces, and it's much more than just the course, as BuddyBoss allows you to do. It's the community and being part of that, joining the weekly live sessions, etc., or engaging in the community to get videos of your exercises reviewed, etc. So it made much more sense for us to have it's a monthly membership to either the full access or a limited access. So we have like a basic and a premium membership, and that's changed over the years, but that's kind of where we're at now. We used to just have either you're in or you're not. Now we've got those 2 options. Because some people do just want to get on with it on their own. So that's for the basics. Some people don't want the community. They don't want to talk to other people. They want to just get the material, go through it at their own pace, and then they're done. So we have those 2, and I think that works best rather than dripping access. Sure, some people will join, they'll look at all the videos and then they'll leave, but there's a hell of a lot of them to get through, if they're going to get the real value out. So, and we also find that a lot of our members, or a significant number of our members, as I said, have been with us for a long period of time, and they get value in the community in of itself. And that's one of the things that is, I think, particularly powerful in some of these with some of these businesses or some of these ecosystems, if you will, that you can build through BuddyBoss, is that you can build a community wherein the value is in the community itself. It's in the things that we've more recently done, which are like the live workouts that we do. So we have like a workout challenge which is more for our experienced members who've got their back in shape and want to keep it like that. So, and we also use those for teaching. So it's not this one we've just done in July was about teaching you how to start a new workout safely, how to find the appropriate resistance, and then how to work at that resistance to build your progress further. So safely integrate a new workout into your exercise regime. So, there's lots of stuff or lots of reasons for members to stay with us beyond that. So a monthly membership with all access makes more sense.
Got it. So that all sounds very well thought out and thorough to me. So let's say I'm a person who wants to come and I'm not interested in the community, not interested in any of that other stuff. I want the basic program. Is that like a standalone price, or is that still a monthly? You get access for as long as you want in.
Yeah, because some people might be stuck in phase 1 for a little while, or really struggle to get through phase 2, because it's all graded in terms of the complexity of the exercise, is the focus on the exercise. So like phase 1 is very much your basic, and everybody should really move into phase 2 very quickly. But that's kind of mostly on the floor. And then phase 3 is building on that with resistance and upright and load bearing. So if you're on the floor and you've got back pain, you kind of can't fall. You can't lose balance. You can't. Any time you mess up, you've got that far to go. It's not going to go too badly in terms of a risk for error. Whereas once you get upright, that's when errors can start happening. You lose your balance, you fall into the cat or something like that, and then trouble starts happening. So it's graded like that. And some people will go through phase 2 in a week, because the challenge that they had to fix their problem came from progressing in phase 3 or phase 4. And others, will go through very, very slowly. They can't even move their leg without their back going awry. So they stay in phase 2 for a lot longer. So whether you're basic or premium, you'll go through at your own pace. And then when you're done, then you leave us. If you're in basic, more so, because there's not the community there.
Makes sense. So that what that tells me is that, it's it's leaning more towards the traditional membership model with tiers, as opposed to the traditional course model where it's you buy it once, you get lifetime access, and you have it forever. Good luck.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell me then a little bit about how you link the two together between, for people who might not understand, somebody searching on Google. Talk me through I guess what I'm asking is the steps of your funnel. Is somebody searches for a problem they're having on Google, how do they end up as a paying member of your membership program?
Yeah, so we don't have too many steps. So they'll initially search some Google, but mostly it is YouTube. So they'll be looking for how to fix their back pain. Maybe one of our ads will come up. So it's those in-stream ads that you see before or after a video. It'll usually be me talking about why they're doing the wrong exercises. It'll be knee hugs. They're probably doing knee hugs because that's what everyone gets told to do. And we explain why that might not be the best option. And then they might click the ad and go, oh, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. I'll give him a shot. And then they go and read the landing page, which just gives them a bit of information. And then there's an option to sign up and join the program. There's 2 pricing tiers. It's join basic or join premium. And then they can sign up there and then. We have done things like free trials, which we do through some of the paid advertising. There's an option for a free trial for 7 days. And in the past, we did do free phase 1 access. But the big problem with that was that phase 1 was never... You need to do phase 2 really to actually fix it. And people would stay in phase 1 for too long. So we just thought, you know what, forget about this, because you're not actually allowing people to freely get the maximum benefit to try before you buy kind of thing. So we thought, you know what, forget about doing it that way. No one gets access unless they sign up either to join or free trial. And if they're going to do a free trial, they get access to everything from the word go. So then they can join us because there's one every week and it's 7-day free trial. So they can join us on the Sunday and actually see what those live streams are about, see the other members that are on, see them sharing their successes, their challenges, getting some tough questions asked, helping people, realizing that if one person asks it, probably everyone else was thinking it, or a significant number of people would. So that's kind of the steps. We don't have lots and lots of steps. There are a couple of, if someone gets partway through the sign up process, there's a couple of email sort of
abandoned cart type
that's
stuff.
Exactly the word I was thinking of. Yeah. But
yeah.
that's pretty much it. Or they come through our YouTube channel, which is organic. And it's a similar sort of process.
Cool. All right. Amazing. So let me dive into then a little bit of after the sort of after story. So what's been the biggest highlight to you, you or Lara personally, of creating the Back in Shape program?
I think not that we didn't enjoy it, because we really, really did. But when we had a physical premises, you had to go there every single day. There was, even though we lived very, very close to work, and it was a short walk, you kind of had to be on someone else's time. You had to operate in that time frame. And now, we can work to our own degree. That's the biggest, I think the biggest thing for me is, you might be productive late at night. You might be productive first thing in the morning. You might feel like, you want to, have a little bit of flexibility, etc. That's kind of I suppose the biggest highlight for me compared to what we used to do before. Is just that degree of freedom that this sort of thing offers you. You're going live with members. You're able to do it from anywhere in the world, and you're still delivering exactly the same content. It doesn't really matter where you are, whether it's in a boiling hot room like this right now, or it's in a cool air-conditioned space. It doesn't really matter. You can go anywhere.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. So tell me then, on the flip side of that, what do you think has been the biggest benefit to your members of you using BuddyBoss as your platform?
We can interact with them more. So one of the biggest issues with, and I think the thing that we can offer through BuddyBoss that we couldn't offer before, because if you're seeing patients every day, all day, every day, when on earth are you going to be commenting on members' exercises? When are you going to be giving them guidance? When are you going to be doing a live stream? When are you going to be helping them in all these different ways? And with an online platform, being able to go do that through the BuddyBoss groups, through the platform in itself, in its entirety, it frees up our time to be able to do that and be much more helpful. And the reality of it is, especially with back pain and probably with many things, there are only so many questions that get asked, but they get asked in lots of different ways. And by answering, here and going into a bit of extra detail, you can answer many people's questions at the same time. So I think it enables us to help members more. And not only that, people that have back pain, people that have any sort of injury, the ability to not have to go, right, I'm going to have to go and book that appointment for 50, 60, 70 pound, 100 pound, whatever it is. And it's in 2 weeks. And now I'm just going to sit and twiddle my thumbs for the next couple of weeks until I go there, doing all sorts of things that are making me worse, by the way, because I'm not aware of it. Whereas you could just go, right, I'm going to go onto the group, boom, boom, boom. What do I do about this? And then there's an answer. And most of the time it's the same day, if not within 24 hours straight, that they'll get an answer back either from us most of the time. Well, they'll always get an answer from us within 24 hours, but other members will also pop in and go, oh, you know, hey, Jason, I had that problem yesterday or 2 weeks ago or 3 months ago, and this is what I did, and Mike said this or Lara said that, and it happens so much faster. And one of the big problems with clinical practice is that you don't get to impart your wisdom upon a patient every single day. And most of the time we don't know what we don't know. So they don't know that actually doing that thing every single day for 4 hours is not helping them. And then it twigs because someone else asked the question or they asked the question specifically. So you can just have so many more touch points. You don't need to sit down for an hour to talk with them. Sometimes it's just 15 seconds of what you've said that is a massive game changer. And that you just cannot do that clinically, and no one can.
Nice. I love that. So what's the next big thing that you're working on with Back in Shape program? What's the next big thing you're working on the site or in the business as a whole? Tell me a little bit about like what's on the horizon.
Yeah, so one of the cool things is Lara and I are having a baby later this year.
Congratulations,
which is really cool. Yeah, so one
Amazing.
of the big thank you. So one of the big things about pregnancy is sometimes you get back pain. So we're actually creating a whole new arm of the program, coincidentally, that's going to be really focused towards pregnant mums. We get lots of members that come in through the program because they have back pain, but going through Lara's experience and over the next couple of months and years, we're going to have kind of a new or an additional supplementary kind of section, if you will. And one of the nice things, I think, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we'll be able to do with BuddyBoss will be create an app platform that is kind of, they come into the initial home screen and then there's the Back in Shape members and they can go and have an experience over for our main Back in Shape members. And then you've got the pregnancy members and they'll go off and have another different experience to the app and obviously the website as well through the whole ecosystem. So that's something that's really exciting. We're doing basically a full kind of a YouTube side of things and then a full program inside Back in Shape, both pre-pregnancy and obviously when the time comes after pregnancy as well, which is being led by Lara. So that's kind of the most exciting thing for us.
That is one of the best pivots I've ever come across in my entire life. That is brilliant. You couldn't have planned that better. No, that's amazing. I love that. What a way to like use your actual real life experience to go and create something amazing. That's going to be so good for you, and like I just know that that's going to be so successful. And even if none of the current members that you currently have ever have anything to do with that side of stuff, it's just going to open up a whole world of completely different but just as specific women with problems for a very specific reason who may never have come to your site otherwise, who may never have arrived there otherwise. And what a way to like give real live demonstrations and like have somebody really going through it to tell about their experiences. That's fascinating, and I'm gonna look really forward to like watching that unfold. That's awesome. And by the way, there's two ways you can achieve what you outlined about the sort of separate experiences. Either the most rudimentary way would be to have a WordPress multi-site where you would have effectively two memberships, and you would only need one app to do that. And when somebody logs into your app, then they would be able to switch. Like, you can switch your Twitter profile or switch your whatever. You can switch your BuddyBoss app. So they would either switch into Back in Shape or they would switch into Mummy's Back in Shape or Back After Baby or whatever you're going to call it. Back After Baby, copyright Jason Broderick. Or the other way to do it would be depending on there's neither, they both have pros and cons or whatever. The other way to do it would be we now have app access controls, which we released last month, which now allows you to have two memberships or multiple memberships and have the same app show different content depending on your membership level. So if somebody was enrolled in the Back After Baby program, they wouldn't necessarily see the courses from the Back in Shape program or from the whatever. They wouldn't have the same menu items as whatever. They wouldn't have the same access to the same social groups or forums. That would all be different, but they wouldn't need to switch in or out of a different app, if that makes sense. Those are the kind of like two main ways to achieve that. But when you get to that point, or when you start sort of piecing that together, definitely drop me a line. I would love to sort of help you out in any way I can with getting that up and running. That sounds awesome. Tell us a little bit about where they can find you online and connect with you.
Yeah, I think the best place is backinshapeprogram.com, which is the website. We're in issue number 7, so week number 7. We have a weekly publication where we put out quite a lengthy article. It's back focused, but it's sort of general health and well-being on our website. And you can find that very easily on backinshapeprogram.com. And then we've got our YouTube channel, which is by the same name, Back in Shape Program, on YouTube. Those are probably the two most helpful places people can find us. And then, of course, the same handle on Instagram would probably be the third choice, if you will, just at Back in Shape Program.
It's great to chat to Mike, and I'll share all of the links that you mentioned in the resources. So for anyone who's listening, you can check out the Back in Shape Program. If you click the link in the resources below, or head over to the podcast page, we'll have all of those resources linked in there for you. Mike, thanks a lot again.
Thanks, Jason.
That was Michael Fatica sharing with us how a pivot in the pandemic has helped open up a world of possibilities for Back in Shape. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to let us know, then make sure you hit that like button below and then leave us a quick comment to tell me what was the one most valuable thing that you learned from this video. That's it from me. Until next time.